Here's Brody Brazil.
I think what we're realizing now in life, in society, and in sports is that our relationship, if you want to call it that, with COVID-19, it may have hit a plateau. This may have become a point where this is what the world looks like for the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. I don't know how long it's going to be, but we've kind of reached a situation where we can get things done. Things are still definitely not normal. There are setbacks. There are surprises. We're still learning. We're developing. We're trying to counter this situation. We don't have it nearly under complete control, but all that can be said. And I mean, that's what the experts are saying. The doctors and the people I listen to is what they're saying is maybe get used to right now. This could be it for a bit, for better and sometimes for worse. But I think as you translate that to sports, I mean, think about the last couple weeks. You've had the San Jose Sharks have 7 players plus their head coach, their trainer, their equipment manager test positive for COVID. They're basically out for 2 weeks. You've got the Ottawa Senators currently who are down 10 players and had 3 games this week postponed. And switching gears completely, I mean, but here locally in the Bay Area, you have the Cal football team who played a game 2 weekends ago with a certain amount of players testing positive, and then last week had their game postponed against USC because they had upwards of 40 individuals testing positive for COVID. I mean, that's it's hard to fathom on one end, and they're 99% vaccinated. That's the other thing about the Sharks, 100% vaccinated. From what I understand about the Senators, same situation, 100%. So in some ways, right, it's hard to fathom that many people on a team getting it, passing it along. But in another way, is it really surprising though? I mean, you have players sharing the closest of quarters on a bench, in a plane, bus rides, shower spaces, on the ice, on the field, spitting on each other. It is that graphic. And not to mention, you're going to see individuals like, for example, in hockey, Jonathan Marchessault of the Vegas Golden Knights now put on COVID protocol. Don't tell me that is not going to affect his team's season and his team in the short term. Let me just say this. As I talk about all this from a sports perspective, that's because this is my place, maybe. This is my job. This is what I follow. But what I really care about, honestly, is the health and safety of all these individuals, all their family, all the people that they could or could not pass this on to. I mean, that's honestly my true care and concern. So I want to state that before I go deeper. But what you're seeing in sports right now, like this might be the reality. And why is it such that baseball season didn't seem very impacted and football season is not as much impacted? Is it because it's an outdoor sport? I mean, hockey is a pretty... You've been on an NHL bench, it's a pretty gross sport. And last year, you had these teams in virtual bubbles and they were isolating and distancing. And this year, because there are tools available, we know more about this. There's the vaccination rate is quite high. They're allowing the players more freedom. But with that increased freedom, it kind of counteracts the steps that you took is increased risk. You're all of a sudden traveling to certain parts of the country and the COVID rate there is high. The vaccination rate's low. The distancing requirements and measurements are not in place. They're non-existent in a lot of parts of our country. And because of that, you're taking your team through these places and they're at a certain risk, and maybe that's where they're getting COVID from, bringing it back, moving it around, who knows. But the long story is here, if you're not liking the way sports are right now and your favorite player all of a sudden is out for 2 weeks and your favorite team is postponed like the Senators for 2 weeks, I hate to say it, but get used to it because I think this is the way sports will play out for the next year plus, especially winter sports, especially, the NHL, it didn't start last year until January. That was really the peak of where things were at. We were in a totally different circumstance back then in a lot of ways, but we have not seen winter sports play through the months of November, December, and most of January. The NBA got off to an earlier start last year, but to the point, like, I'm not so sure that things are going to change from how they are right now. I could see more setbacks. Now, again, we care about people's health the most, and hopefully all of the bad stuff is just minor inconveniences. Ultimately, that's what you aim for. All right, player X is out. Player X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, and F are all out, but they're only out for 2 weeks. They're all going to recover. Everything's going to be fine. Okay. I mean, in my perspective, that's way more important than life or death situations. But at the same respect, if you're just taking it from the sports aspect, and that's what you care about, and you don't like the way sports are going right now, and you don't like this trend, again, you may not be thrilled with it, but this is the direction, and this is the routine. This is unfortunately going to be the new normal for sports for a certain period of time.